Hi YouTube, how are you? So this is a little bit different. If you're not into theology, turn this one off, okay? Because I'm not trying to upset anybody, and I'm not trying to get anyone out of their comfort zone. So if you don't like theology, just turn it off. But there are some people that have been asking me, some subscribers, some family members, and some close friends that want me to tackle this tackle this on my channel. So I'm give it a go and try to explain to you how I see things when it comes to theology. So theology is a study of religion, if you don't know. And I love both Eastern and I love Western theology. Both of them have like great expansive readings and teachings and religious canons and books on it. And I want to say I've read there's so many of them, I can't say I read them all, but I read a huge portion of any kind of thing that has to do with religion. And I don't want to say I lean towards one religion more than the other, because they all do the same thing, and they all encompass, like trying to better yourself, right? So like the comparison between like Eastern and Western theology. Eastern theology is more of an understanding of, like we're all united, we're all one, we're all a piece of the puzzle. And like Western theology is basically like there's a grand architect and somebody that created everything, and even his son was a carpenter. Imagine that. It's just a good right. It's one of those things where you have to look for the symbolism underneath the underlying writing that's going on. Like for instance, Baptists, they think that Jesus actually walked on water. Like they didn't actually walk on water. I mean, if he did, it was probably ice. But it's one of those things where you can't take something out of context. You have to see the symbolism outside of what they're trying to portray in the book itself. You can't take anything literal, especially because everything's been rewritten so much, and getting true writing of original context is far from what it's been watered down and destroyed. I'm not saying there's not good stories in any of the books, and I'm not saying that it's all hogwash, but there's a lot of it that they just miss out on, and they just deliberately left out. And if you really look for the books, maybe I should do one on that, like books that you can find like the same messages in pretty much any 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 religious canon. You can portray the same messages through these other books too, and they're the ones that actually been left out. And the book of Enoch definitely comes to mind. I love that book. But for instance, Hinduism, right? Hinduism, they talk about from within the Atman, right? They talk about basically means self or soul, and then you have your lower self, which is your ego. And having an ego, we all have egos, and if you don't know what the ego is, it's basically something that's that little gremlin, that little guy inside you that's always looking out for yourself, always trying to survive rather than thrive. Always, some people call it your conscience, whispering things in your ear. Like you can call it anything you want to call it. And in Hinduism, like you have to basically pray to you meditate. You don't pray. You meditate to your higher self, and you basically try to gain understanding. It's no difference than praying to God, right? I mean, if you think about it, it's in the same context, the same thing. You find a quiet space and you're like talking to yourself, and it's one of those things. If all religions are trying to like get you to better yourself, right? So if you want to say you're a perfect person and you don't need religion, that's fine. I don't care. But there's one of those things where my definition of perfection is trying to better yourself every day. Most people think that perfection is basically unobtainable and you can't get to it. Like you're always going to have to work on yourself. But if you do constantly work on yourself and you are trying to better yourself, then that does make you a better person, and that doesn't make you perfect. I'm sorry, it just does. And some people don't see it that way, and one of the reasons why they don't see it that way is um, it's their thought pattern, it's their foresight, it's their insight, it's what they've been told, it's it's what they've basically just been indoctrinated into learning. You're never going to be as good as God. You're never going to be as great as God, and I just strongly disagree with that, because take Christianity for instance. If you want to find the grace of God, if you want to accept the grace of God, some Orthodox will say you need to be baptized in order to get that. That's not true. Some people say you need to take Holy Communion, and that's not true. You can obviously give your own grace to yourself by it's out there in out there. You just have to breathe it in. You just have to like accept it. Why do you think the symbolism is bread and wine? It's readily available for everybody. That's the symbolism there. You don't actually need to go take it. Does that make sense? Same thing with Buddhism. One of the things Buddha says to, I forget, how does it go? It goes like, he said that in order to, he says that something, I'm trying to remember, that wisdom must only come from the abandonment of selfish desires, right? Something like that. And that's exactly what it is. You have to abandon your selfishness, and you have to desire to be selfless. So like you can even keep that in check, because if you desire not to desire, that's already desire at the beginning. So like even Buddhism, like kind of like, not saying it bothers me, but like it's how they say things. And like I don't want to say I take things literally all the time when I read this stuff. And I don't think anyone should take anything literally. I think they should definitely like take the context that makes you a better person. So for instance, if you want to be less selfish, you need to like look at your life and say, these are the things I need to work on. If you know you need to work on those things, why not just work on them? Why pray and try to get somebody else to like push you to not do those things? Because if you know the 10 things about you that are bad, then you already know what you need to fix, right? Then why do you need to fix them to begin with? Because you're already doing them to make you bad. It doesn't make sense. My dad would, he told me that he was like a hardcore Catholic growing up, and that he would like go get in trouble on the way to church because he wanted something to absolve himself from. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's just one of those things that, I mean, I was talking about the breath too. Like when it comes to like Buddhism, about finding the Atman, it's not the soul, or it's not the self. It means like in Sanskrit, like nirvana, right? That's what every Buddhist tries to obtain, is nirvana, right? And it's like, it's a sense of supreme peace, right? I think that sounds wonderful. Doesn't everyone want supreme peace inside themselves? But in Sanskrit, it means to breathe out, or to blow out. And if you think about it, like, it's life. If you hold on to life so dearly, like, you're just going to suffocate yourself somehow. And you can do it in your own experiment and hold your breath as long as you want. And when you do, it's clinging to life, right? And to blow out, you get it all back. I mean, that's also in meditation, and it's also in an easy example of how simple it is to make yourself better. You know, like you don't have to pray to somebody to like try to get that kind of understanding. You don't have to better yourself. You have the power to better yourself. That's as simple as simple, and as, I don't know, it might sound egotistical as it is. It's not, because you are basically allowing yourself to be outside of yourself, if that makes any sense. Here's another example. How do you get supreme peace or nirvana? You know, like you have to take everything you know, everything you look at, everything you listen to, and you have to gain a separation. You have to gain a deep separation between the watcher and what is being watched. So like, if you can watch the life go by and you can passively understand it without trying to judge it, there you are. That sounds like progress to me, does it not? So it's one of those things. It's how you want to look at religion. And I used to look at it as an evil thing. And that's mostly organized religion, I think, is kind of evil, because there's a lot more into it. Because I follow the history and I follow the numbers, and the numbers in the history, like, there hasn't been one religion that hasn't killed in the name of their God, and I don't see it being any beneficial. And if you don't think we're still in the middle of a holy war, then you're grand mistaken of what's really going on. You know, our phones, sports, everything that's meant there to distract you is supposed to simply do that, distract you from really what's going on. And those are all attached to your ego. So, I mean, I could go into more and more depth about religion pretty much any day of the week, because it's something I love to talk about, and it's something I love to study, amongst other things. But take this for instance. Try this on for size. I was trying to think of a movie, because I like to talk about movies on my channel. When it comes to what is the most theological Christian movie you can possibly think of. A lot of people might say The Passion of the Christ, but it's not. Believe it or not, spoiler alert, he dies at the end. So that's one reason why I didn't go see that movie. I already know how it ended. But one of my favorite movies that does bring this all together and, searching for a grand understanding and progress and making yourself better and accepting grace is definitely Armageddon. Armageddon basically is, if you've ever read the religious canon called the Bible, like it basically takes place in Revelation. Armageddon happens to happen, and you got to think about it when you watch the movie and you don't see any religious ties or to Christianity in the movie or any symbolism. Like when I watch movies, I see a bunch more stuff than I think other people see, because in Armageddon, like you got this like ragamuffin like what are they called, misfit guys that are a bunch of sinners, gamblers, and uh, do all sorts of different bad things, but they're the ones that are meant to save the world, right? You got to think about it like this. Even at the beginning of the movie, Bruce Willis is chasing Ben Affleck around on the oil rig, and he's trying to kill him. He's trying to kill him, right? And the same symbolism happens in the Bible, and it's just kind of a funny thing. He wants to take him out because he doesn't want him sleeping with his daughter. And then you can fast forward and you can watch all the symbolism happen throughout the entire movie. And then at the very end of the movie, there's one of the greatest speeches ever when Bruce Willis is out there and he wants to talk to his daughter, which you think coincidentally her name is Grace. I mean, and then he tells Ben Affleck that he always seen him as a son, and he always like he sacrificed himself, which basically is the entire Bible in itself is just sacrifice, teaches you sacrifice, and he sacrifices himself to save the entire world. His entire world happened to be grace, and in that movie, he saves the entire world, right? Does he not? And he has that little speech with Grace, and he has a little speech with Ben Affleck. But you guys got to watch that movie and see all this stuff that actually happens in the movie, because it gives you a better sense of kind of what I'm trying to portray and what I'm trying to say, because there's only a limited amount of words, finite amount of words, and I'm trying to describe things that are infinite. So just try that on for size, watch that movie, and look at it from a different point of view, and tell me what you think. But I was going to do a fun one, and then I got people message, and those of you that do message me, thank you very much. It does help me get ideas out, and the whole reason why I did this one is because I didn't want to disappoint the few of you that didn't want me to cover this topic. But I also don't want to turn my channel into money investing. I don't want to turn my channel into religious dogma. I don't want to turn it into politics. But it seems that some of you do care about what I have to say and my viewpoints on things, so I'm going to have to go over some of those tougher topics, and we'll cross those bridges when we need to cross them. But I just wanted to do a fun one after this. I don't know. I'm going to do a top 10 before I got to go to work, because somehow I slept through Monday. I have no idea how I did that, but I guess my body needed it. Well, I know what happened. I was up playing video games and chess on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and my body was exhausted when I was still working on Sunday. So I have to stop playing chess, and that's okay. And I'll be back on every single day. I know I missed a day, but hey, my body needed sleep, and I had my list of things to do, and I still didn't finish those, and I'm still on here doing a video. So with that said, I'm going to end this one and then move on to the next one. Okay.